Ever felt like you can't get anything done? You have big dreams, a vision for your life, but somehow you just can't take the first step. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow, again and again, watching opportunities slip through your fingers. You're not lazy. There's one critical thing you're missing, and once you understand it, everything changes. Imagine waking up each day with energy, focus, and a plan that actually moves you closer to your dreams. Picture yourself taking small, consistent steps that over time build up into amazing results. That's what most people never experience, not because they lack talent or ambition, but because they never master the system that turns action into progress. Let me tell you a story. In a quiet town surrounded by forests and rivers lived a young man named Armin. He was smart, capable, and full of ideas. Friends and family admired his ambition. One day, Armin will be unstoppable, they said. But there was one problem. Armin always waited. He planned, dreamed, and visualized success, yet the moment to act always seemed inconvenient. While others worked on their goals every day, Armin sat back. He read books, watched videos, and imagined his perfect life. But imagining alone never built anything. And that, my friend, is the invisible trap most of us fall into. Then came a day that would change everything. Armin's mentor, an older, wiser man named Farid, handed him a small journal. Inside this book, Farid said, is the key you've been missing. It's not about working harder, it's about starting smarter. Armin opened it, curious. The first page said, "Action grows like interest. Laziness grows too. Choose what you focus on."
Armand stared at the journal, feeling a mix of curiosity and doubt. He had read countless tips, watched endless videos, but nothing had ever made him actually move. Yet these words were different. They didn't tell him to try harder. They told him to start simpler, start smaller, and start now. The next morning, before the sun even rose, Armand decided to act, not in a big, dramatic way, but with a tiny, specific step. He wrote down one single task he could complete today that would move him closer to his goal. Just one. And then he did it. It felt strange. He had always imagined making huge leaps, but now he understood that small, consistent actions work better than random bursts of effort. By the end of the week, those small actions had added up. Momentum started to build. Armand felt something he hadn't felt in years: control over his life. Farid noticed the change. Most people think motivation drives action, he explained, but motivation is unreliable. Systems and habits are what actually move you forward. You're not lazy, Armand. You're missing a system that turns your ambition into reality. Armand began to understand. Every day he would identify the single most important task, complete it, and reflect. He started tracking his progress, not just dreaming about it. Slowly, laziness, the invisible barrier that had kept him stuck, started to fade. Here's the truth. Ambition without structure is like fuel without an engine. You have the fire, the desire, the dreams, but without a method to channel them, nothing moves. And most ambitious people fail here, not because they can't, but because they wait for the right moment, the perfect mood, or endless motivation. That moment never comes. By the end of the first month, Armand realized something remarkable. The small, consistent steps he had taken didn't feel like hard work anymore. They became habits, integrated into his daily routine. And over time, those habits started to build up, creating results he had only dreamed about before.
As weeks passed, Armand's life began to change in ways he hadn't imagined. He realized that ambition alone was not the secret. It was the structure he built around his actions.
Each morning, he mapped out his day with clear priorities, identifying which task would move him closest to his goals. He broke big projects into tiny, manageable steps. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a massive to-do list, he focused on what he could do today. By doing one small action consistently, he made progress invisible to most people at first, but undeniable over time. Armand also learned to guard his focus. Distractions had been his greatest enemy before: social media, unnecessary meetings, even overthinking. Now, he created specific blocks of time dedicated solely to meaningful work. In those blocks, he eliminated interruptions and fully committed to the task at hand. Another lesson hit him hard. Reflection is as important as action. Every night, he reviewed what he had accomplished and adjusted his plan for the next day. This simple habit gave him clarity, prevented wasted effort, and kept his momentum growing steadily. By the end of the third month, friends and family noticed a change. Armand was no longer the man who waited for tomorrow. He was calm, disciplined, and focused. His small, consistent actions had begun to compound into noticeable results. Projects that once seemed impossible were now within reach. Here's the key insight. Laziness is rarely about lack of desire. It's about lack of structure, clarity, and habit. When you give your brain a clear path, it stops resisting. Motivation becomes optional. Action becomes automatic. Armand's story shows that anyone can overcome the invisible force that keeps them stuck. You don't need more energy, more inspiration, or more luck. You need a simple, repeatable system to turn your ambition into reality. And here's the most powerful part. This system doesn't just apply to work or money. It applies to learning, health, creativity, and every area of life where you want meaningful progress. Months passed, and Armand could finally see the results of his consistent effort. The small actions he had once doubted now formed a life-changing routine. His goals were no longer distant dreams. They were becoming reality. He realized something profound. Ambition doesn't fail you. Laziness doesn't define you. The missing piece is clarity, structure, and the habit of action. Once you feed these consistently, even small steps can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Armand looked back on the months he had wasted waiting for motivation to strike. He understood now that waiting is the silent thief of progress. Every day without action allows distractions and comfort to grow stronger, while dreams slowly wither. So what's the lesson for you? Don't wait. Start today. Identify one meaningful action you can take immediately and do it, then repeat it tomorrow and the next day. Over time, these small, consistent actions will change your life, just like they did for Armand. Remember, your brain will resist. Comfort feels safe, but growth feels uncomfortable. The key is not to eliminate resistance, it's to move anyway, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. As you leave this story, think about the one thing you've been postponing, the habit you've been delaying, the action you've been avoiding. Start now. Water your ambition, pull out the weeds of avoidance, and watch your life grow. If you found this story valuable, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who struggles to take action, and subscribe the channel. Every small step you take, every story you absorb is a seed, and the right habits will turn it into extraordinary growth. Your ambition is alive, your potential is waiting, and the only thing standing between you and your future is the action you take today.